All right. Hey, good Tuesday morning. It's gonna be a hot one here in Alabama. Full sun. I love that though. That's just to me that's a good day. Maybe I'm a cold-blooded creature or something. I don't know, but I love the sun and just enjoy being out in it. So looking forward to that. Last night I kind of did some little house cleaning, not in the house, but in my computer. Got all my sermons. We have a series we're looking at in Joshua on Sunday mornings, and I don't put them up in YouTube. So I have a YouTube channel, and you can go there and see everything organized. Like if you want to hear everything on the book of Galatians, or you want to look at our study that we did on shelters in the storms on Sunday, the book of Joshua that we're going through now. You can see all of those on the YouTube channel, all in one concise place. So you can go back and pick any of the books of the scriptures. We're down to about let's see. I have two gospels left, Matthew and Luke, and then we have First, Second Corinthians, Hebrews, and Revelation. I've taught everything but those. My goal, Lord willing, is to teach the entire New Testament to the daily dose, and then we'll see what the Lord does after that. But enough of that. We are in Galatians. Man, what a great book it has been so far. Chapter 5 is absolutely stunning in spiritual growth and how to make that happen and what it looks like. I think the church confuses spiritual maturity as though it's something where we know more Bible than someone else. We attend church more than anyone else. We're more prominent in the church than anyone else. Our life consists of our worship music and that kind of a thing. And it really is not that. Those things are great and those things are wonderful, and we should be all of those things. But it comes down to what it looks like to be spiritual. So forget maturity. Maturity is not necessarily the goal. I mean, we should mature, but if we are spiritual people, maturity happens much at a much faster clip. So to be spiritual means to put to death the deeds of the flesh. That's all it means. To get a hold on that, to not let sin reign in your mortal body, as Paul says. And I think sometimes we don't think in terms of that. We don't think that that's in terms of spirituality. We think in terms of who I can quote. What quotable people can I speak of? How many verses can roll off my tongue? But it's not about what comes out of a man's mouth. It's what's inward, right? It's what goes in. And so we shouldn't judge ourselves on a lot of the peripheral issues and feel good about ourselves. And I want us to feel good about ourselves. But it comes at the reality of when sin is minimalized in my life. I mean, I don't mean minimalized like not made large, but I mean when there's not a lot of it, when I'm pushing it down, when I'm letting the Spirit of Christ produce that fruit, good stuff happens. Now, so Paul has just finished saying that. Now he takes a turn, because that was kind of an inward deal. Now he's saying, hey, and you who are spiritual, right? Let's look around and see who needs some help. And this is what this passage in Galatians chapter 6, which is where we are today, that's what it consists of. It is one of my most favorite passages to meditate on as I'm dealing with people, because it keeps us where we ought to be. It is a mandate. This is a command, if you will, and I want us to see it. And so he says, and I've titled it kind of "Help a Brother Out," right? So we've just finished looking at the fleshly and the spiritual. And just for the record, putting a chokehold on sin, if you don't know this by now, it's hard, isn't it? I mean, it's just brutal. It's like that whack-a-mole game, right? As soon as you knock one down, another one pops up, and it feels like all we're doing is constantly just knocking these things down, or not, and they're just going crazy, and we're overrun. But putting the sin to death is hard. I mean, it doesn't, just get in a car if you're prone to that, and see what happens when people don't follow the rules of the road, and that anger that surfaces, or when you're dealing with someone you love who has an addiction, right? We're all prone to wander. We are. It's just who we are. From time to time, we are going to drift away from walking. Now, I'm not trying to prophesy or anything. I'm just telling the reality. In our pursuit of walking in the Spirit, there will be times like Pilgrim's Progress, where Christian gets sidetracked, right? So we're walking along and we're walking in the Spirit, and then something happens, and instead of reacting in the spiritual manner, the flesh rises up, and as soon as we let that happen, the flesh will never come alone in that sense. It will bring envy, and it will bring strife, and it will bring anger, and it will bring all of those things with it. And so it's hard. And so here's what he's saying now. You who are spiritual, all right? So brothers and sisters, even if a person is caught in any wrongdoing. So you see someone caught in a wrongdoing. So here's the situation, right? You see a fellow believer, and they're in a situation. They're caught. That word there, prolambano, means that they are ensnared or entangled. Lambano means to take hold of. When you read about someone is to be above reproach, that word is epi lambano. It means one who cannot be taken hold of, right? One who's above reproach means that they just can't be taken hold of. There's no sin evident in their life. And so that's what that means. So when you put pro lambano, it means one who has been caught, one who is ensnared, one who's not above reproach, right? They have been reproached. And what that means is that they find themselves, picture one of these large snakes, python or something, wrapped around somebody, and they're squeezed, right? That's what prolambano means. It means they're ensnared, or someone who's caught in some sort of net, entangled in something, and they can't get out of it. That's what's going on. So Paul says here, brothers and sisters, even if a person is caught in any wrongdoing, you and me have a responsibility, right? It's a wrongdoing is a trespass. There's a difference in when he says forgive us of our trespasses and our sins, right? And our debts. Those are different things. Parapitoma means a wrongdoing. So it doesn't necessarily have to do with a sinful thing. It will always lead to that, right? In your anger, don't sin, right? That is a trespass potential, that anger. So it is a wrongdoing, but it's different than the others because sometimes it could be an attitude, right? It's big or small, and it's not defined necessarily. This is what that means. You see someone that's ensnared in the fleshly thinking of life. That would be the best way to do it, right? And so that happens, right? I mean, you see people who are like that, and so what is our responsibility? This is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. This is where you and me are being charged with helping them out. Look, I got freed from that stuff right now, and so I'm going to turn around and I'm going to see they're caught in it. Well, I'm going to help them too. Listen, if I just got loose of that snake's grip, then I'm not just going to go, whoo, I'm free. Hope good luck to you. I'm going to go over there and try and untangle them too, right? I mean, this is what he's calling us to. So it's not just me. I'm not just responsible for me. If I'm rocking along, walking in the Spirit, and I see a brother and a sister, and they look like they're just entangled in stuff. Maybe they've got an anger issue. Maybe they've got an addiction. Maybe it's there's this lying that just seems to be coming out. Maybe it's a negative attitude where there's no joy in their life, right? Whatever those things are, he says, you who are spiritual, restore such a one. So we walk along, we see someone, and their life isn't right. Now, it may not be you can point to and go, hey, this is this sin in your life. It is just that you see that they're walking in the flesh, not walking in the Spirit. And if you look at that list, that grocery list of the deeds, some of these are attitudes, some of these are specifics, right? And so we tend to want to find the sin in somebody. It could be it's formed in the area of an attitude. And he's just simply telling us, listen, if you see somebody that's not walking in the Spirit, you who are spiritual, now this is where I want us to make sure we're clear. That doesn't mean that you're better than them, you're more mature than them. It means that you're unencumbered at this moment from the flesh, that you have got that chokehold on. You who are spiritual, and so a lot of people use this and go, well, that's just not me. I mean, I'm a sinner too. It's not about that. Do you have control of your flesh in your life right now? Then you're a spiritual one. Tomorrow you may not, but today and Lord willing, it's a habit. He says, then if you're the spiritual one, you are the ones who are walking in the Spirit, keeping in step with the Spirit. He says, then I want you to actively restore someone. This is what he said. You who are spiritual, to restore such a person. Katarezo, it means to mend, to join together, to adjust to a good working order. You ever had something that wasn't working, it quit working for whatever reason, something froze up in it, whatever it is, and you begin to restore it. And so you take it apart, you put it back together, you clean it up, you oil it, whatever, you put it back together, and now it's working again, right? That's what this means, to mend, to katarizo, right? So, my computer I'm working on here, it had the battery was going bad on it, and if I didn't keep it plugged up, it would just die on me. So I ordered one this week, read some directions, turned it over, took the top off, pulled the thing out, put it back in, screwed it together, opened it up, and man, is it running great, right? It's been mended. It was ensnared. My computer was ensnared in this defaulty battery. And so my job was to take it out, and I had to be gentle and careful with it, right? Because you can't just, those things are gentle inside these computers. Pulled that thing out, stuck another one in there, closed that thing up, opened it up. Man, it was just working like a charm. This is what he's talking about. Let's do that, right? Let's adjust others to a good working order. So if you see someone and they've got this anger issue, and man, that's not how we ought to work. That's not how we operate. There needs to, you don't just go, hey man, give them a wide berth. That's who they are. Let's just leave them alone. No, if they're brothers and sisters, I need to come alongside them and help restore them and go, look, that's not how we operate. This is not it. And look, you're harming people that you love. You know that, right? These are the conversations that we should have. And so that's what he's saying. So, brothers and sisters, even if a person is caught in a wrongdoing, there's someone ensnared, we looked at that, you are spiritual, doesn't mean you're better than them, doesn't mean you're more mature than them. It means that right now, you have a check on your flesh, that you have put it down, you've pummeled it, you've got a chokehold on it, you've bound that sucker up, and right now, you're walking in the flesh, walking in the Spirit, you're keeping in step. You should turn around, and when you see that person, you should help restore them, help take that stuff apart, help them rebuild that thing, their life, so that it's in good working order spiritually. This is our job. We should see it this way. And he says this, and I love this. In a spirit of gentleness, restore such a person in a spirit of gentleness. What does that mean? This is not harsh. This is not going over the top on somebody. Hey, just shut up, man, and get your act together, you freaking moron. You're angry all the time. That's not gentle. We know that, right? What does it mean? So it's not a yelling match. I'm not going to raise my voice. I'm not yelling at them. I'm not going to be harsh. I'm not going to be cruel. I'm not going to be mean-spirited. It mean you're always just this anger deal, right? That's not how we do it. He says it's not a lecture. It's a restoration. What that means is we're helping them see what's wrong and broken in their life, and we're helping them figure out for them how to restore it so they're in good working order. This is good, isn't it? This is what is needed in the church. We are our brother's keeper. And so listen to what, because he's not through yet. Each one looking to yourself so that you're not tempted as well. You know what he's saying here? Hey, listen, I know what happens. You want to go help somebody and you begin to feel smug, right? And you begin to want to lecture and begin to go, I'm a little better than them, right? The guy that's pounding his breast, in the prayer of Jesus. I thank God I'm not like that sinner over there because I fast and pray. And no. He's saying, look, this is our responsibility in the household of God. We see someone in trouble. We are God's first responders, right? That's what we do. We see, just as you see a good firefighter, there's a fire, he runs to the blaze. Why? Because that's his job. He knows that's his job. I'm going to get in there. I'm going to rescue people. Is he equipped for it? Yes. Is he armored up? Is he ready? Is he knowledgeable? Yes. So what's he doing? He's running into that building. Why? Because he's a first responder. Because he knows there's somebody in there that needs what he has. This is how we should see ourselves when it comes to that. 1 Thessalonians 5, Paul says this. It's amazing as you start studying through the scriptures, you see Paul says a similar thing everywhere. 1 Thessalonians 5, he says this, admonish the unruly. He says, finally, brother, admonish the unruly. Like, hey, come on now. You know you're off the trail here. Encourage the faint-hearted. Hey, come on, get up. We're not done yet. Come on, walk with me, right? Help the weak. Hey, come on, let me lean on me while we get your strength back. This is what it means, and this is what he's saying. Doing. He says, in looking to yourself, scopeo, right? Kind of scope into your own life, right? Like put that get the telescope off of them, the focus and and put it on you. Check yourself. Don't, in your discipling or mending, become fleshly. Let's just contemplate that. This is because we always get there. If we're not careful, we tend to, when we're helping somebody else, begin to feel good about ourselves. And then that goodness that we feel tends to go toward pride. And then we begin to talk from an aspect of condescension to people. This is not how we restore people. This has to be taught, and we have to do this because we care about our brothers and sisters. So he says, hey, look into yourself, lest you too be tempted, lest you end up walking in the flesh, right? That's what he's talking about. Then he says this, verse 2, bear one another's burdens and thereby fulfill the law of Christ. You really want to fulfill the law of Christ? It's not just, me and mine, right? It's not just I'm going to do right. It's that I'm going to love my neighbor as myself. So if the tables were turned, how would I want to be treated? If I'm snagged up by that snake, if I'm caught in some net, I want you to cut me out. I want you to pry me loose. And he's saying the law of the love is that we bear one another's burdens. I can't just go, whoo, I'm glad I don't live with them, or I'm glad that's not my life. Woo. No, that's not the answer as believers in Christ. I'm a first responder. You're a first responder. I'm going to go bear those burdens. What does it mean? I walk along the road. I see someone struggling, man. That boulder is on them. We were at the beach last week, and there was a guy that was had a wave runner. He had launched it up on the beach, and actually he had created some tension among everybody anyway. But he was trying to back it out, and I could tell he was struggling. So I jump up, grab it. Brent jumps up, grabs the other side, and we began to drag it out. That's what it means to bear one another's burdens. If I see someone caught in a sin, I picture this big boulder of sin is laying on me, and I'm like, man, you don't go around and go, man, that looks a little tough. Maybe if you lifted your left arm here, or maybe if you wiggled. No, what am I going to do? I'm going to get down underneath it. I'm going to put a shoulder on it. I'm going to lift it up. I'm going to get to my knees. I'm going to let them get to their knees. We're going to pull it up together, and then when they get strong enough, we're going to toss that sucker aside, right? And that's what it means to bear one another's burdens. So we feel the weight of their trouble and sin, and we help them pull it off, right? This is what the scripture says. Bear one another's burdens, and then you're fulfilling the law of Christ. 4, if anyone thinks that he is something when he is nothing, he deceives himself. He's saying, listen, stop with the condescension. Stop with the pride. Don't deceive yourself into thinking you're better than that person. And that's our tendency, isn't it? We just think we're better. Man, I've got friends who kind of have that attitude, and it's just frustrating because every time somebody's name comes, I just want to pile on them. I'm like, look, man, you haven't walked in their shoes. Let's don't do that, right? Don't look down on people because of their struggles. We don't know where those things came from. We don't know how hard life they had, and that's not an excuse to let them stay that way, but it tempers us so that we realize, but for the grace of God, there be I, right? That's the deal. And then he says this, but each one of us must what? Examine my own work, my own body of life, right? My own spiritual deal. Examine my own life. So I'm going to examine, right? Like I'm tempted to do with them, right? I'm tempted to want to judge them. And he's saying, hey, again, scopeo, right? Turn that scope on yourself. And he says, look to yourself so that you aren't tempted. For if anyone thinks that he is something when he's nothing, he deceives himself. But each one must examine his own work, and then he will have reason for boasting. But to himself alone and not to another. Listen, it's okay to feel good about yourself. Hey, man, I'm walking good right now. You just don't go brag about it, right? And not to one another, for each one will bear his own load. All of us have to, at some point, learn how to bear our own load. Man, this is good truth. We could talk for days about that, couldn't we? And the practicality of that. I know in your mind right now, you've got people that you're thinking about, man, I should probably go talk to them. Well, you know what? Maybe you should. Not maybe. You go. Be that first responder, right? In love, following these principles so that we accomplish the law of the Lord, which is love. Right. Lord bless you guys. Can't wait to share more of this stuff with you in the morning. Have a great one.